Welcome to Offsite Dirt. High performance build is the recording that we're doing now. And I got to tell you, high performance build, it's one of my favorite subjects. So my name is Mark Wille. Offsite Dirt has events all the time going on. You just go to Offsite Dirt, literally, and click on the events calendar, and you could find that stuff all over the place. On Mondays is the release of the Marketplace series. And later in the week is the release of the high performance build. And so please go to the events calendar. And if you have an event, please share it with us. If you have a product you would like us to discuss, share it with us. If you have a build, more importantly, a high performance build that we should showcase, share it with us. So I'm joined by a couple of my good friends. That's friends with a PH, right? We got the F out of our dictionary. We replaced it with PH. Shaun will tell you momentarily what the PH stands for. But for as long as I can remember, gosh, it seems like since high school, Joe Konopacki has been blazing the trail of what's going on with our buildings, whether that's a building we own, whether it's a building we like to own, whether that's a building we work at and we're a property manager. Joe is assessing it, and he's also giving trainings to the marketplace to do what he does. It's building science principles that I love so much. So Joe, before we get into the topic of today, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, and Shaun, you follow up, brother.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Joe with Insight Property Services here in the Chicagoland area, full service building consulting. So whether somebody's buying it, selling it, building it new, or just trying to make sense of the house that they have, we help people make homes better. We also do contractor training. So we are in the midst of a small cohort for a workforce development program. The local gas utility, Nitro Gas around here, is sponsoring the course and just basically trying to get a broader range of contractors into the existing home improvement business. Turns out we got about 3.5 million homes in the Chicagoland area, and they all can see some improvement. So, yep, got to start out with the building science principles, the building science basics, and then this week, we're going to be getting into diagnostic testing of homes. So now that you understand the principles, let's go apply those to an existing home and figure out where it is. Because you have that spectrum of, you've got your drafty corn crib house, and you've got your super tight, air, sealed cooler of a passive house, right? Where is the house on that spectrum, right? It's going to be somewhere on there. And so before we can do anything, before we can make any kind of recommendations, first, we need to figure out where that house is, on the spectrum, and that's going to help determine what the next step's going to be. How do we push it down the scale towards, that airtight, super efficient cooler of a house? So that's what we're doing. Shaun?
Hey, great stuff, Joe. Hey, love what you guys are doing over there. And what we're doing over here in Vancouver, British Columbia is I'm Shaun St-Amour, working with Clay Construction, and we are building high-performance projects, and we've got one retrofit. So again, we're taking an older building, we're able to model it and put on all the principles. So we've gift wrapped it, we put on a sweater, we put in high-performance windows, we got rid of the thermal bridging, put in a fresh air machine, and so all of a sudden, we've taken this kind of cabin, as I call them, and made it high performance. And so that lovely kitchen and bathroom that we all renovate to, this thing has also been getting a beautiful shell. And we've got a bunch of new builds underway that we're applying the same principles that you spoke about to make sure our clients get a comfortable, energy efficient, and healthy home. And I believe that is the topic that we want to dive into today is what is a healthy home when we apply all the amazing knowledge and principles that we've just spoke about, and we actually put it into the envelope. And so a lot of this whole discussion is that envelope first approach, so that we have a bit of a cocoon that we make for our clients. And so they get this healthy home. Where do you want to go from there? What is a healthy home, Mark?
Whenever we're going through the benefits of passive house, we'd like to remind people of our simple steps, right? And our simple steps are five, right? They're just five. So of those steps, um, it's the approach to air tightness, right? So the air tightness control of the building. It is the superior windows and doors, right? So what they're doing and compared to, let's say, most window and door packages and most window and door installations that we're used to. So then the next step is continuous ventilation and energy recovery, right? So that continuous ventilation is taking outside air and bringing it in. Now, notice I didn't say fresh air because we're not making the assumption that the air outside is fresh. But we are
Could be.
making the conversation of ventilating the home because we brought up that we're making airtight buildings. So then we have continuous and again superior levels of insulation that are applied to all six sides of your beautiful boxes. We like them beautiful because if they're beautiful, you'll take care of them. And then finally, let's get rid of those pesky thermal bridges and let's welcome those wonderful thermal breaks because we all enjoy a good thermal break and healthy buildings here. Healthy buildings enjoy those benefits of the five principles. Reason we talk about this so much is we've had examples, and you, right? Think about it while we go through this. You've had examples. Primary one for me, best times of my life are going to visit grandma, right? Go visit grandma. She meets you on the porch, takes you inside. She shows you her candy jar. Of course, she gives you a slew of chores to do. But there's a certain spot in that house that never wanted to sit, right? And there's that certain smell from the basement. Grandma's house was coal-fired for a long time. It was a cabin turned into a home. So there was a lot of unhealthy things from childhood that just didn't like. They were uncomfortable. They weren't good. So for me, when I start with the five principles, I remember the pathways of my lifetime of musty, gross smelling homes that, is the only shower in the house was in the basement. It was just a valve you opened up and the floor drain was there and there's a bar of soap on the wall, right? That was the only shower in the house. And that,
You at least get a curtain.
I tell you, Joe, there was definitely no exhaust fan in that basement. Of course, you could open the hatch and walk outside and there's cobwebs all over the window, so you knew whether the air was blowing in or out. But unhealthy is what I was used to. You could elaborate on that story, Joe, or you could tell your own, my man.
No, that's I still see that in homes, man. My buddy's got an old farmhouse that his grandparents used to live in, and so when we go visit him out there, same thing. It's the shower is a hanging shower curtain around the floor drain in the basement on a steel grate, and that's what if you don't like that, you can go actually fill up the old porcelain tub and soak in the tub. But when you're out baling hay or whatever, working the fields, it was, hey, go downstairs, wash the mud off you, because that's what it was, mud and dust and whatever. And maybe you luxuriate with a soak in the tub once or twice a week, but no, it's pretty utilitarian. And the that musty basement, again, people still have those. It's the uninsulated foundation walls. Why is it musty? Because all summer long, those walls are cool enough that they are below the dew point, and so they're condensing the humidity that migrates into the house. And why is the house humidity so high? Because your air conditioner does some dehumidification, but only as a byproduct, and your house is drafty. So all anytime you suck humidity out of the air with the air conditioner, the humidity outside is just finding its way through the gaps, cracks, and holes like a fridge that's been left open a little bit. you know? And so the humidity slips in just about as fast as you can take it out of the air with the equipment, right? So, and then it's condensing on, the cold concrete, floor of the basement, lower foundation walls, and just enough moisture to start, getting, kicking up that mildew smell. I still see it today. Again, we got a ton of homes around Chicago, and uninsulated basements are, the expectation. So everybody's got those problems to a large degree. And when you have folks that are, have respiratory sensitivities, that are looking for some kind of relief, the first thing is, hey man, we got to do a better job keeping outside out and keeping inside in. And all of that happens at the building enclosure, right? I mean, if you've got a leaky boat, you might throw 3 or 4 bilge pumps in there, or you can, put the boat in dry dock for a couple days and seal up the holes. And maybe that one bilge pump you have can do the trick, right? So that's, when I explain it that way to homeowners, there's like, yeah, like, do you want to throw more equipment in the space, or do you want to just make the enclosure a better separator between inside and outside, But hey, you want to throw 4 bilge pumps in your boat, right? Go right ahead. Bilge pump sales guy be perfectly happy, But sealing up the boat seems just too obvious and simple to ignore. But that's really where creating a healthy home starts, is creating that a good air barrier between inside and outside. But then it's got to be followed immediately by insulation, because otherwise you've got an airtight plastic bag, with all kinds of condensation happening in this season or that season. So it's got to be insulated, and it's got to be or air sealed continuously. It's got to be insulated continuously. And then now you got a fighting chance of managing, keeping bad stuff out when necessary, or bringing it in if you need to. So.
Feel like you guys have been over to my grandparents' house, except he didn't have the sugar candy jar. He went for the sugariest cereals you can imagine, and otherwise he'd pull out a bag of blueberries and some milk, and then he'd pour more sugar on it than you needed to. So definitely we've improved our healthier habits when it comes to eating, but also looking at those healthier habits of building better to ensure that that smells that you guys, honestly, I think everyone could just close their eyes and they can imagine exactly where you are, and we all have it. And now it's a question of, okay, well, what can we do? And Joe, you've really elaborated it quickly there of what we can do to ensure that we can get to a healthier home and not have those cobwebs in the windows. We don't want cobwebs in the ceiling in the attic, and we definitely don't want them anywhere in our homes. And that's because keep the bugs out. We start looking at that whole air tightness approach with our envelope, and we're getting that the basement musky smell. We're getting the same smell out of the bathrooms and sometimes even the kitchens, because we're working on ensuring that that we're ventilated correctly, and we're getting a nicer smelling home, and by just getting rid of that moldiness, right?
Yeah. And it is a frustrating kind of double-edged sword, because just as soon as you're air sealing and insulating the house, you're like, hey, I did a great job, blocking, separating inside from outside. You very quickly become aware of what exactly is inside. All the ways that human beings can kind of funk up the air. Between the chemicals we use for cleaning, cooking, and whatever else, the off-gassing of products and furnitures and coatings and all kinds of, you really do become aware of it. I used to just store extra paints, caulks, varnish, all that stuff on a shelf in my mechanical room. I started putting them in totes as we were carrying them around for classes. And then I would, after a couple of weeks, you'd pop open one of those totes, and the smell would hit you and grab you by the face. You're like, holy cow. And it occurred to me, I'm like, all of this stuff was just loose on my shelves.
Yeah.
So if it's making this kind of a stink closed up in the tote, it's been off-gassing the entire time on my shelves, but I just either became nose blind to it, or it was of such low amounts that I just wasn't aware it's there. But none of that's vitamins, right? I'm not gonna get healthier and stronger taking a big huff of that stuff, and that's part of, making that healthy home is you go, yeah, first we need the control. So you're, air sealing the house, but then we need to be aware of how we're contributing to degrading the air quality. Those scented candles are not all that great for you, burning incense and those kind of things. I get it to some degree, but it can very quickly become excessive. I've had people complaining about, respiratory irritations and headaches, and they're putting on scented oils and scented hand lotion and scented candles and scented this and scent. I'm like, it may smell good to your nose, to some degree, but there are so many, this little chemical cocktail you're letting off in the air is contributing to you not feeling well. Sure, candy tastes great. It ain't doing your teeth any good. So just because it smells like vanilla or cinnamon or whatever, it's a paraffin candle. They pull paraffin in asphalt production, and now we're gonna burn that off inside your house and huff fumes from it. But it smells like cinnamon, so it must be good, right? To some degree, people are kind of tricking themselves with these, things that are sweet or things that smell good. But it's not doing your body, any good, and you overdo it pretty quickly. And it becomes just more noticeable as we make the homes more comfortable, more energy efficient. We're also keeping the bad stuff in a lot longer than it needs to be.
Such a great example, Joe. So as you guys go down those roads of improving room by room or building by building, or whether you're tackling that existing home or existing school, church, or building that new one, that example provided so colorfully by Joe is important because, yes, we're taking those measures for tight enclosures, insulated enclosures, continuity with our air barrier or control layers like our window, bringing in those fresh air machines. But if then you're supplementing that with these air fresheners and goofball candles, right? Those scents and let alone any other belonging. Be mindful of what you bring into your place because we're having the conversation on health, and it's that old adage, like all my kids do is eat cookies, right? All right, well, who put the cookies on the table and in the pantry? So this is your dwelling. I'm not asking you to replace a lifetime worth of, nostalgic doilies from Aunt Edna. But the thing is, be careful about what you put in there because those closet organizers that you get from XYZ company at 1 a.m. are off-gassing. And if you're wondering what off-gassing is, the first time you were raving and jumping in the streets of that new car smell because Uncle Timmy got a new car, well, those plasticizers and those things in there, as they heat up, they're leaching out. And what you think is that new car smell is something you don't want near your body and near your fresh air machine, which is your mouth and lungs. So be mindful of your pillows, your towels, your shoes, all these things that you bring into those dwellings, talking about a healthy atmosphere. So your body, your health is important, and your environment is what you create and take care of.
Yeah.
Well, and I love how nowadays we can always just monitor it. And so, I'm sitting here with my indoor air quality monitor. We're at 88. So, it's pretty good here in my office. Got the window open because I'm not in a high performance build. And so the window is my, opportunity to ventilate the space and get the fresh air in the home. And it's great. So now having that data, we can make some better decisions. And so when we look at renovating, retrofitting, or doing new builds, we can model it. We can figure out what the building could achieve. And then by applying those 5 Pascal's principles, we can be able to get to those metrics and then enjoy the benefits. And the big one we're talking about today is health. And we all could sit in our, comfy spots in the world and make sure that it relates to us because we all want to have, healthy, lifestyle. And when we spend up to 80% in of our buildings, we want to make sure that that particular building, ideally, it's going to be your home, it's going to be your friend's home, it's going to be the office space we work in, it's going to be, you know, wherever you find shelter and connect with your community, or if it's like I said, you know, connecting in your own space, we want to make sure that it is a healthy space, because we're staying out of the elements and enjoying, you know, that covered protected space. Well, it needs to be healthy.
Yeah, that air quality monitor that you showed, Shaun, I've got actually a couple of those in my house, and they're, you know, we recommended them to clients. It is invaluable to have an objective measure of air quality. I mean, it doesn't measure all that many channels, but you know, you're looking at temperature, humidity, CO2, which basically increases as you get more and more people exhaling, you know, in a space. That CO2 is going to rise and people start feeling a little drowsy and sluggish. They don't need an energy drink, they just need fresh air. Your body is sensitive to an abundance of carbon dioxide. And so you start feeling drowsy, yawning, you know, your body wants fresh air, it wants more oxygen, or actually wants less carbon dioxide is what it wants. But then that sensor will also pick up VOCs, will also pick up particulate, right? So the best thing about those monitors is that you can go back and look at what the trend was for the last day, week, month, and you can say, hey, what event is happening at, you know, at 8 a.m. that's causing something to go up? What event is happening at 3 in the afternoon? What happened on Thursday that made the air quality just go completely sideways, right? If you're trying to figure out how, you know, what the air quality is and what's contributing to poor air quality, having something that tracks it objectively that you can go back and refer to is invaluable to identify, like, oh my gosh, it was when the cleaning people were over here. You know, and it used to be that it would spike and be gone in 2 hours, but then we did air sealing and insulating in the house. Now it spikes and it hangs out for 3 or 4 hours because the house is tighter. Okay, well, either we need to minimize the cleaning products, maybe change, you know, what we're using, or we need to maybe do a flush, you know, of the house after that event to you know, clear that stuff out. But without some objective measure, you're just ignorant to it. You're completely unaware of the objective reality. So having those monitors are great. It's the one thing that got my wife to actually turn the range hood on when she was cooking. She didn't like to use it because it was too loud. But then she'd look over her shoulder and see, you know, the air quality monitor like in the 60s and showing red. And she's like, what's that about? And I'm like, that's what's giving you a headache. Turn that fan on. She's like, oh, okay. So it's not just you nagging me. You know, it's the, you know, 15 feet away. It's horrible. You're standing right next to the stove. Turn that fan on. So it's great for anybody who wants to really manage and be sure that their air quality is good in their house. Having an air quality monitor like that is invaluable. And some of those can actually be tied into the mechanical ventilation systems to turn them on, turn them off. So now your air quality can be controlled just like your heating or your humidity in your house. So that's where it's moving. That's the trend.
Shaun, you want to take us out? I think we've covered a great bit of work on healthy buildings. And by the way, if you're out there and you haven't had the cooking that comes out of the Konopacki household, you're missing out. And for the folks that have electric cooktops and electric kitchens, that doesn't mean we don't want you to ventilate them, because you're still producing moisture. You're still probably maybe producing grease. I don't want to say that, but if you only cut raw vegetables and fruit up and you never cook anything, then I guess you don't need it.
Or sometimes in the St-Amour household, you're a little bit too busy and you you know, cook that bacon a little bit too much and got to deal with the burnt stuff. So that's why, again,
don't burn my bacon, man.
I know, especially when it's Canadian back bacon. All right, everyone. Well, again, this has been another great edition of Offsite Dirt. If you want to look for all the other events, go to Offsite Dirt, check the events page. You'll see when Mark and Joe and I get together, and you'll be able to come back and see more of what we're talking about. So thank you very much for checking out us on High Performance Build. I'm Mark. No, I'm Shaun. I've got Mark. I've got Joe. The three of us are here today bringing you some knowledge about building a healthy home. Enjoy. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.